The Property Lane.
Hello viewers, my name is Moses Lutalo. Welcome to The Property Lane in partnership with UBC Television. We're shooting live here at Summit View Residences, Nakuru. And today we have a very interesting topic to discuss relating to real estate sort of offering. I'm the Managing Director of Broad Uganda Limited, but also represent Association of Real Estate Agents on the board, and I'm in charge of education. And it's through platforms like this that we wish to reach out to the public and educate them about new developments within the real estate space. With me, I have a panel of experts. On my immediate right is Ronald. I could invite Ronald to introduce himself.
Yes, hello viewers. My name is Ronald Kawesi. I am a built environment digitalization expert. I also do lecturing at Makerere University. I am a valuation surveyor by training.
Thank you, Ronald. Ham, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Ham Lobega. I work with a company, a PropTech company called True Soil or Title. And basically what we do is we build property technology.
Thank you. Today's topic, we want to demystify what PropTech means for property management. Our viewers out there, many people are involved in the business of property management, and increasingly the word PropTech has become the buzzword in the industry, and we hope in today's conversation we get to demystify that. The people we have on the panel, as you've heard, they are experts at this, but just to set the scene in terms of PropTech, what is PropTech? PropTech is essentially how technology enables us to do real estate business. Now, there are very many facets of real estate business across the value chain, but specifically today I want to diverge into property management. What does that mean to engage technology when you're managing properties? And these properties can be residential, can be commercial, can be retail, can be hospitality, they can be industrial, data centers, student accommodation, name it. So I want to start with you, Ronald. You're an expert in this field. What is PropTech? From a global perspective, what are your thoughts around PropTech? Is it something that we need to embrace as industry, players?
Thank you very much, Moses. PropTech is basically property technology in full. For you just to put our viewers in sync with this, it has come to be adopted globally, and it followed the chain from, let's say, the financial technologies. We saw it coming up. Then PropTech started from the US basically, then it moved to the European countries, and Asia, then Africa started also to adopt it. It has to do with adopting technology in the real estate sector, which most people call the property sector basically. But if you look along the entire value chain, the property sector starts from acquiring the land, the piece of land, the construction, and having a finished product on market. And our topic today is basically about the finished product you have on the market, that is the property itself. So we are looking at the PropTech in property management, which is a finished product. And what we do at PropTech Uganda, basically we do the sensitization of all the stakeholders in this sector. Basically we start with the client. We got that to sensitize them. How can technology help them out in this sector? We also do a bit of sensitization in schools and the university. So basically, the graduates we are getting out currently, they're well aware of what PropTech is and how can they use the technology to manage this sector better. Yeah.
Thank you for that overview on PropTech. I think from what Ronald is saying is we're faced with this, sort of it's an elephant in the room. Question is, do you want to adopt as a country? Do you want to lag behind? But just to emphasize, with Industry 4.0 knocking on our doors, technology is the way to go. So if you want to leverage efficiencies, if you want to do business better, if you want to plan our taxes better, if you want to manage our customer experience on our properties better, technology is going to be one of the things you need to look out for. Now, coming back to Uganda context, and think this is where our other panelists is going to come in, because when Ronald is speaking, there's a sense of, oh, this is very far away from Uganda. But Ham said, he works for a PropTech company which is actively involved in implementing these solutions to the people out there, to investors of properties and people renting properties. What are you seeing in your space? Are we seeing adoption of the technologies? What are some of the challenges that you're facing as you roll out these systems to the public out there?
That's a good question. A couple of good questions actually. Being a practitioner of PropTech within the industry comes with a lot of challenges, and I'll start with some of those challenges before I move on to the use cases. The industry is still very young here. Like Ronald was mentioning, it started from the Americas, moved into Europe, and is just new in Africa. And unfortunately with Africa, a lot of technology here, we tend to catch up a bit late. So there's usually a trust issue between our supposed customers and also the companies that are involved in this business. So I think the biggest challenge that we're having currently is the lack of trust. How do you get an investor in a property to essentially move away from managing their property and giving it to someone else, to a piece of technology that's essentially going to improve how the property is going to generate revenue and how it will function, and also its longevity as well, to convincing him, okay, don't give it to your cousin or uncle or family member to run. So there's still a bit of a barrier there in terms of trust between the investors of properties and also the practitioners or the people who are building PropTech software. But in terms of also growth, we're seeing a lot of growth. We started the company about 2-3 years ago, and we started building a PropTech solution from scratch, trying to essentially cater to core problems of people here. So there's a lot of PropTech software out there, especially from the wider audience of America and Europe. But the biggest issue with it is that it's overcomplicated. So we wanted to build something that's a bit more, that would resonate a bit more with our clientele and also with their issues. So the way, for instance, leases are managed here is very different from the way leases are managed elsewhere. So we wanted to build a homegrown solution that could address most of these problems and challenges and also build trust. We've seen growth. I think from the time that we started, we in the last 2 years, we probably have about 2,000 plus tenants who are on the platform across a variety of different landlords. And this is both commercial spaces and residential spaces. There's still different facets within the industry in terms of which people will adopt PropTech. So for instance, you'll find that a person who owns maybe 4 units will probably not want to get a PropTech solution, though they need it as well. But they'll much more likely prefer to have an uncle or to have a cousin or a brother or a friend manage those 4 units. But then they come after, and we've seen many cases where most of the people we approach, they tell us, I don't remember the last time I got payment. And you ask them, okay, when was the last time? Did you submit any tax? I don't know where those records are. So there's an issue with record keeping, there's an issue with maintenance of properties, and it's extremely jumbled up into a couple of challenges. But what we're trying to do within the industry, together with other PropTech practitioners, essentially is to kind of like dismantle this huge mess that's created by the lack of PropTech, to use technology to essentially advance the way people manage their properties and gain more from their properties as well.
Oh, thank you, Ham, for that. And from your submission, what I'm seeing is the typical sort of stigma around adopting to technology and being able to, take the most out of it to create efficiencies when you're running your properties. And I think the good thing that has happened to our sector is the URA-free system, where each and every landlord now is required to invoice their tenants through some sort of system. Now, what that does, that previously, like Ham was saying, the people who have had challenges declaring their, incomes to the taxman, and they're trying to use rudimentary ways of doing this. Now, to our viewers out there, I think that ship has, sailed already. You can no longer be running property and you're not being able to pay taxes. Now, if you're already using the URA portal to do your invoicing, your receipting, I think it's only, beneficial to you to go an extra mile and go into how leases are managed. And the good is that now we even have the Landlord Tenant Act, because what it means is that there's a law under which the two parties are being regulated. So for practitioners like, Ronald, who are developing these systems, and Ham, I think there's already some sort of standardization on the tenancy agreements, how they administer, which you should be able to build on and build solutions that are going to be homegrown, if you can put it that way. Because again, getting systems off the shelf and trying to, replicate them here in local context, it's like putting square pegs in circles. It's not going to work. So for me, I think as someone who is involved in this business on a daily basis, we have solutions like Broad Online that we work with. But I think that the aspect of having a solution that is sort of customized to your local context is very good, and is where we're going to draw a lot of traction and be able to professionalize, because what PropTech is now offering us is the ability to see how much of the sector is actually contributing towards whether it's GDP, tax, and all that. Because if you have that information, then even as we're engaging the decision makers, it's look at real estate's contributing so much to this sector, we need A, B, C, and D, and that's what that data is going to help us with. Leave alone creating efficiencies, leave alone, creating transparency, because when all that happens, then you're getting credible investors coming to the market. They want to know what are the going, rentals downtown, for example, per square meter. I have different data set, other players have different data set. But if you have a PropTech solution that aggregates this information, then you're able to advise investors from a point of information. And that's what, information, which is PropTech aggregated, helps us to deliver on in terms of a transparent real estate sector, because transparency is everything in our business. Yeah, we'd like to take a short break. We'll be coming back to the viewers. I need to mention it's the Property Lane, where it's all about property. We're being hosted at Summit View Residences, Nakuru. It's a beautiful place, I must say. Thank you. Welcome back, viewers, to the Property Lane. I'm your host, Moses Tutalo, today. Like I said earlier on the panel, I have Ham and Ronald, who are PropTech gurus, if I can put it that way. And the second segment of our session of the Property Lane would want to diverge more into the different systems of PropTech and the real applications across the real estate property management aspects. And I want to start with Ronald. We are aware of different systems that are currently available on the market from a property management system. What are some of these systems? Can they even integrate? What benefits they offer to the people who are using them?
Thank you, Moses. When we talk about how can the systems integrate, we see the public sector and the private sector coming on board in this. For example, in the public sector, we've seen the land information system that has been established. We also see BIM, that is being held by the National Building Review Board. These systems are very important and they need to be integrated into existing systems in the private sector. What maybe we are lacking is how can we integrate these systems and how can we use them? For example, BIM. BIM has a whole scope of information about a building, basically, from the architectural plans, from the structural plans. These are very helpful, for example, for a property manager to know, for example, do I have a challenge in the ducts? How were the ducts formed there? So you can have all this information in the BIM infrastructure. And what happens is that what we are helping out is, for example, at the Department of Construction, Economics and Management, we have done some research on BIM, and we're trying to see how we can help stakeholders integrate BIM in their systems. So I think there are some of the systems that can be adopted in the, what can I say, that can be adopted by the stakeholders who go out there to manage the properties. And also the information system, just let me talk about it. What we see is integration of, let me say, the cadastre and the registrar. This is information that is very important for a property manager to have basically on his fingertips, and also to go out there and to put into another system. What maybe I can also talk about is the private systems that have come on board. We see, I think Ham has they have a system that is running. Boyle Online is a system that is running. I know there's Maya, which is a student accommodation system. Basically, they function and they are focused on student accommodation, hostels. How do you go to a hostel to manage a hostel? So if they adopt these systems, it's very important for them for a client not to go and pick something off the shelf. So there are the systems that are integrated, the systems that are around, and it's very important to go and look for a system that meets your requirements as a property developer, as a property owner.
Yes, thank you, Ronald, for that. I think for the benefit, again, of our viewers, when you talk about property management, it's not just buildings, even land is part of that. So when Ronald is talking about the land management system and all that, for people who are familiar with land banks, institutional investors that have big chunks of land, how you manage your usulu, how you manage your, ground rent and all these other things, that's all property management. And that context is very important that our viewers know. We're not just dealing with buildings, houses, and, but also land management, also student accommodation, and all sorts of asset classes within the real estate space. Now, going back to Ham, I think Ham earlier on told us they have over 2,000 people on board on their system. I want Ham to take us through the different facets of property management, how their solution is delivering value to the people who are using it.
Thank you, Moses. And like you've mentioned, so the different facets to property management and what our solution provides, but also generally in terms of other solutions that are on the market. If you're looking at, for instance, and before we're talking about the challenges that people are facing, property investors are facing, but don't recognize sometimes, or sometimes tend to shy away. So things to do with like financial management. Our system is able, for instance, to give you a breakdown of revenue in terms of what you collect, how much you collect, when you collect it. You have some very fancy but very simple graphs as well that can allow those who don't like to read much but like to look at a graphical representation of data. You have things to do with managing your expenses. You have things to do with automated reminders to tenants to pay, especially for landlords who want things to be kept up and running very quickly. Invoice generation, things to do with invoice generation towards tenants, things to do with reminders, things to do with also spot checks, just making sure that units are supposed to be in the condition that maybe they're supposed to be in the right condition. That's all handled within the system. But the system also handles also additional things such as maintenance requests. You'll handle things in the future to do with like procurement, with assessing credit of tenants as well. So there are some things that we're also building towards the future that will make the system a whole more robust. But in terms of generally the things that these systems handle, for instance, Boyle Online, I know does all the way things to do with procurement, building management. So you need, I think investors in property need to look at it on a general scale. So look at technology in a general broad sense. So for instance, you have WhatsApp. Initially, back then, we used to use SMS, right? And I remember with my wife, back then we used to use SMS and you'd count down the number of messages you have left or bundles. But then WhatsApp came. And then all of a sudden, that's not important anymore. Now data is a problem. Then you have email, then you have social media in general, Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. All these different platforms came. All these are technological advancements that essentially have made us better at communicating and keeping in touch with people, right? So this is exactly the same thing with PropTech. PropTech is meant to help us realize a bit more value from our investments than we are currently getting. So now you could do it a manual way, the way that you've been doing it. But yeah, we used to use SMSs as well, and we don't anymore, not in a broad sense anyway. So I think there are different facets that manage. Think about anything that is to do with property. There's a solution for it. With managing property, there's a solution for it. If it's financial, there's a solution. If it's managing building materials, stock taking, maintenance, service repairs, HR, property management. There's a facet of property management that can do it either by TrueSoil ourselves or by other different platforms that are already out there, such as Brawl Online and so many other platforms out there.
Thank you very much for that insightful conversation. And for our viewers, tried to really show us the different facets of property management and how the system that they've developed helps property owners to do the challenges that come along there. We're almost coming to the end of the show. I would like to give the panelists an opportunity to give some closing remarks. I'll start with you, Ronald. What's the future of this industry? Are we seeing early adopters? Are we going to be left behind? What's happening? What's your gut feeling on PropTech going forward as an industry?
Thank you, Moses. The industry is growing basically. We had a snag when the COVID-19 came into place, but we saw a couple of startups before COVID actually, and these have failed to scale up when the COVID-19 came into place. But now they're starting to pick up. I know quite a number of startups that really were affected by COVID-19. But now we see new players coming onto board, and we see existing startups scaling their businesses, even outside Kampala. So the industry is growing. All we can say is that we need to continue doing more sensitization, basically, on all avenues. The students, the graduates, the professionals, the property developers, all that. So that we see the PropTech industry being adopted, and Uganda is at the forefront of this property industry.
Thank you, Ronald, for that. Any closing remarks for us?
Yes, the industry is growing, and I'll just echo what a couple of words that Ronald has just said. The industry is growing. I think as people who have invested in the property real estate industry, it's important to get value for money, one for us, but also maybe for our clients that we manage properties for. So adopting solutions that will help us essentially do that better is definitely key. Data is king at the end of the day, and he who holds information at the end of the day will have a lot more power. So please embrace these technologies. If you want to check out our solution, just go to titl.app, TITL.app. And then you'll have a look at what we're building. Get in touch with us. Let's have a conversation. We love to get feedback because that's how we're able to build homegrown solutions that are useful in the context that we're in.
Thank you, Ham, for that. I think for me as the host for today's session, my word out there to our viewers is that technology is here with us, and we need to understand that if I'm a property developer, if I'm a tenant in the building, that solution is only coming to make our relationship better. Why? Because think of your PropTech solution, the property you're renting in, the property you put up, as not just an accounting solution. It's an end-to-end solution. At the end of the day, what we want to see is an industry that has aggregated information. This information is supposed to help with scaling up. It's supposed to bring more people on board, which will bring the cost of doing this business way below lower than where we're seated in. If you look at markets in South Africa that have adopted PropTech quite early, the cost of property management, the cost of doing business in real estate is far much lower than that. And just because the industry is vibrant, the information is out there. So my call on to the different players is let's embrace the technology, but most importantly, let's involve the practitioners when you're doing this. I would like to challenge Ham and say, for example, if you're coming up with a solution to do with PropTech, invite property managers, invite facilities managers, let them give you what the daily challenges are and how you solution for them. I'll give you an example. At Brawl, the biggest challenge we've always had in property management is how do I track my turnaround time? A tenant called, I have a leakage on 4th floor. I want to log it in on real time and be able to tell the tenant in 2 hours I delivered on that. So if a solution offers that, for me, that's good because I'm able to report on that. If I have aggregated information, the cost of running a building per square meter, I could quickly look through and say, no, this person is charging me so much per square meter. So for me, I think technology is the way to go. And technology will not replace us in the industry, but men with technology will. So people shouldn't be scared. I also call on people like, they should be at the forefront of encouraging startup programs within PropTech because it's going to help tax administration and all that. Thank you very much, viewers. It's been a pleasure having us host this important topic. It's the property lane. We're being hosted at Summit Residences in Nakuru. Thank you very much.